Hello, welcome to everyone who has made it. Thank you very much for joining me. I'm really excited to share all this with you. Um, so, without any further ado, we're going to get started. So, so first of all, I just wanted to let you know why I decided to write these different books in the Percussion Masters Series. I've been working on it for several years, actually, and I wanted something that was going to cover orchestral percussion as well as drum kit as well as orchestral percussion, um, so that people who signed up just for drum kit but wanted to be in the band as well, then I could kind of give them what they were eager to learn, but also show them a world that they might not be familiar with or even aware of. And so I wanted a book that incorporated all of that. And we all know that different students come in to learn percussion at all kinds of ages. A lot of people say that starting at primary is the ideal time. I think any time is fine, depending on how far they want to go with percussion. So I wanted something that was going to cater for the infants or even preschoolers, which is what I've had some experience doing, and as well as those coming into high school, again, which is quite late. But I wanted something that they could do as well, that whether they're learning from the very beginning, where they haven't touched a musical instrument before, or if they say have played piano and they want to join the orchestra or the band, then the 13 to 17 years crash course would um, would really go a long way in helping them kickstart their percussion journey. So the layout of it is that each age group goes with starts with bronze and then graduates to silver and gold. And so I have that. Well, I've written the first installment for the bronze level, and the silver and gold levels are a work in progress. Then, expectantly, as they get to 9 to 12 years, they would then continue on the yet to be written bronze, silver, gold level for the 9 to 12 years age group. And so on with the 13 to 17 years bronze, silver, gold level, which I envision to basically take them up to grade 8 or AMAS or wherever. But the crash courses are designed to be an entry level for whoever is coming in to learn percussion at whatever age. And I've designed it to supplement exams if the student or parent so wishes to enroll in any of those. And I've made it a point to try as much as I can to make difficult techniques more accessible. So, as you might see, I go through these different exercises, not too many of them, but just to touch on things that might stump kids when preparing for harder repertoire. This is the kind of series or the kind of books where parent engagement is not only encouraged, but it's caters to parent engagement if time allows. And that parent doesn't have to have any prior musical knowledge or anything like that, but they can go through the books with their child and help support their learning without 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 any prior knowledge. The beginner group you see on the right there is for general percussion ensemble, 3 members or more. And I've used it with some of my percussion ensembles at school where I'm also giving them lessons. But it can just as easily, I think, be used in a music department where a teacher just wants to get some percussionists playing. And so this could be a good resource for them. And I'll go through a little bit of that as we go through. The first thing I um, wanted to establish was a practice plan. And I think some kids see a large piece of music and get a little bit intimidated. So this practice plan I've come up with just helps take it as a step by step kind of approach, so that they're edging their way closer to achieving that bigger goal. And I like to say to my students that, I like practicing because I can look back and say, I'm a better percussionist than I was 5 minutes ago. And so there's always a sense of progression, of moving forward. And even if they feel uncomfortable and they hit a bit of a snag, there's all the information is in the books on how to tackle that particular concept or technique. And then they can use this practice plan just to edge their way over. And yeah, I find it really successful. So when I was in doing my bachelor at the Sydney Con, we were lucky enough to have marimbist Robert Van Sice come and give us a presentation, marimba masterclass. And there was one thing he said that I will never forget, and it's shaped the way I teach ever since. He said, some people learn to play marimba pieces, others learn to play the marimba. And that really spoke to me, because it told us that we're meant to um, we're meant to have command over the instrument, and just learning pieces isn't going to get you there. So what you see there is an example from my 5 to 8 years bronze book, where I start out by teaching students the pitch awareness, what's high, what's low, and how they can see that on the page. And then they start to see patterns, and I carry that all the way through the series. I try to make them all um, pattern finders or decoders, and I think that that helps develop a deep understanding of music theory, and that goes for preschool as well as high school. And there are so many times where I get a new student and I'm teaching them these kinds of concepts, and I'm giving them that kind of that compass, putting it into context for them, and a light bulb just goes off, and like a big brain explosion. It's brilliant. I love it. Playing in time can be tricky for some kids. And so I've come up with some animations that provide a bit of a visual cue for them, so that they can see the beat happening. They can also hear it through the audio, which isn't happening today, but they'll be on the backing tracks that come with the books. And once they establish where the beat is visually, and they can kind of cue that up with what they're hearing, then take away the visual component, and they're much better, much more consistent at keeping time. And that also progresses from one backing track to another. I find that they're quite resourceful. They can take what they've learned with this particular backing track and still tend to keep the beat relatively well with others. So these are the types of tools that are in the book. You'll notice also that the background changes color, and that's to provide a visual cue again, but for the 4-bar phrase cycle. And for me, that's a really important skill to learn, because it will allow them to survive in an ensemble. If they get lost, if they miscount or whatever, then hopefully they have learned how a 4-bar phrase sounds intrinsically, and they can kind of just figure out where they are in the whole structure of things. It's also good for jamming, if they're improvising, playing along with another band or some mates or just a backing track. Then getting a sense of that 4-bar phrase structure is really crucial and can really boost their confidence. So that's that resource there. Another one is following along with music. Some students get a little bit confused. So even if they know what a crotchet is, they might find it just a little bit harder to follow along the music. And so I have just a couple of videos like this scrolling along where they can learn how to progress through a piece of music. So something short like this, but then of course can carry over to larger pieces. And the snare drum fill at the end there, of course, doesn't have to stay on the snare drum. I always like to tell my kids, go nuts, play on the tom-toms. And if they've got even more experience behind them, they can try a variation on rhythms. And so I get them improvising quite early and exploring the different sounds of drums and percussion that we've got. So my experience with students is I really don't um, like it when students are disadvantaged in terms of resources, but they clearly want to learn something like drum kit, but the parents understandably don't really want to invest in such uh, um, a big commitment right off the bat. So I've written these books so the majority of the content can be played with a percussion pack, which includes a drum pad with the rim just there. And so I have a series of kit solos a la drum pad where they can stomp their foot for the bass drum. I have that grayed out as optional and using the rim for the cymbal, and then of course the snare drum on the head proper itself. And then when they get to the fourth bar, then they're able to play just a little interesting figure there. And so they're learning the coordination of rights and lefts, as well as getting used to the 4-bar phrase structure and coming in and out of grooves and fills and that. So I think it covers a lot of ground for people who can't afford to get a drum kit straight up. And my aim with a lot of the content here is to present the information in a colloquial fashion and a way that's easy to understand. So, like I said, I touch on a lot of the music theory concepts and just add a little bit of a short exercise or just a couple of short exercises and then moving on. And hopefully that allows students to recall on that information when they have something like an analogy or a funny story to work on. And some of my analogies are quite quirky, so all the more memorable, I think. And then that way they're able to become independent learners, and they know what they're reading, they know what they're playing, and they can take it on themselves when they're in a percussion section with no adult there supervising and amongst them. I also wanted to highlight common auxiliary percussion playing techniques. This is a little bit more of an advanced page in the 13 to 17 years crash course, but I do have the basic skills as well, things like cymbal rolls and triangle tremolo and things like that. So I want to develop proficient and confident players within a percussion section, and you don't usually get this kind of instruction in other method books. So that's definitely something that I wanted to include, and students and teachers can go to particular pages if band repertoire comes up with a particular technique, then they can just find that technique and they have some material to cover it and learn it. So I'm really happy with the success that's come from that. This page is from a years 5 to 8 bronze level example, and you can see that they're just nice and short, a slightly larger font. And I find with shorter pieces, with these kind of crash course books, that they're able to keep up the momentum. Students can go at their own pace, whether they're skimming through everything or they're just making steady progress. Um, I think just having these short little solos can help keep the momentum and the interest going, and I think that helps with um, student retention rate as well. These kinds of solos are great, especially for infants, for little performances, class demonstrations, and things like that. So, yeah, that's what that's about. Throughout some of the books, I also have various milestones, little certificates, house points, to the discretion of the teacher, and there is always some excitement surrounded those little milestones, I find. So this page is from the beginner group book. At the end of each chapter, there is a piece for everyone to play. Uh, my books are full of puns. I'm a lover of puns, and this particular piece I have tried with quite a few ensembles, and they have done really well. The kids have had great fun playing them. They get lots of laughs, and yeah, it's just a um, good little novelty piece for them to play. So, what's next? As of now, these books are available for purchase on my website. It is currently live. And there are plans to have this available at Optimum Percussion as well. So watch their space. And if you happen to be in store, you should be able to pick up a hard copy there if you desire. I have been working on lots of different short pieces and four mallet uh, repertoire. But the standalone instrumental albums, I would like to get going, but they'll be released at a later date. So right now, all of the content is as a collective, and at some point, I will make available just drum kit material, just four mallets, just two mallets, or like that. But I'll be guided by feedback as I talk to people. These books are available in print only, so no digital versions are currently available. And all subsequent volumes, as I mentioned before, bronze, silver, gold in the varying age groups, they will start to have more substantial repertoire. So as these crash courses have shorter pieces, shorter little solos, the other the other grades volumes to come will have slightly longer repertoire. And again, if a student is undertaking an exam, then these should be good resources for supplementary repertoire. I kind of consider this a bit of a soft launch. I have been spending years tweaking all of these pages and hours and hours and hours and sleepless nights of going over in my head what's in these books. Inevitably, being a perfectionist, I will find other things to tweak, but I also welcome your feedback. And I'd like to know, where would you expect students to go from here once they finish a crash course, for example? How long did it take you to get them through it? And what would be on the agenda, would you say? So I'm very open to what you might suggest. And if you have any questions, I'm only an email away or a message. It's a very small music and percussion world. So yeah, please do reach out. And to say thank you to everyone for all of your support. I'm inviting you to, I'm inviting peripatetic teachers to join the affiliate program. What that means is that if you refer your students to buy some of these books, then you will receive $5 from that purchase. And I'm still nutting out the details, but I think I have it just about set up where there'll be kind of a payment plan. And yeah, I've been on a bit of a learning curve, so still nutting that out, but that is definitely something that I am wanting to press forward with. So the way it's going to work is you can click on the link at the bottom of the page. It could be the homepage, and I think it is on any page of my website, and just filling the affiliate form. That will then be approved, and the ball will start rolling. And at the very least, if the technical platforms aren't quite ready, then I'll make sure that that I hold my end of the bargain, and yeah, just have a working relationship to get these books out there. And if you find them useful, if your students are having success with them, then just want to keep that happening. So after purchasing, like I said, these books come with backing tracks by the beginner group. Customers will receive a link to the playlist page for those backing tracks. So there is a page for each book, and after purchasing, you'll then have a link sent to you that will give you access. So thank you for joining me tonight, or wherever you might be joining me, and thank you again for all your support. And I hope you've been enlightened, and I hope you and your students find lots of great use out of this resource. So thank you, and till next time.